We now come to oral questions to the Honourable Member for Perth and North Perthshire. First question is Dave Dugan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number one.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with your permission, I will answer questions 1 and 2 together. The Commission has had no recent formal discussions on the potential merits of electronic voting. Colleagues on the Procedure Committee have examined what practical and procedural changes to divisions might be necessary in the context of the COVID-19 outbreak, and I thank them for their work on this. I know that they will continue to keep this situation under review. Any decision to implement electronic voting would need to be agreed by the whole House. The Commission's responsibility for this matter would be limited to the financial and staffing implications of such a decision.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The SNP have long advocated modernising this place so that votes do not take hours. And as a new member, still relatively new member, I'm shocked at the archaic practices that we as members have to undergo in order to vote. Does the member for the Commission ever see this House leaving the late 19th century?
For that question, can I just say to him, in my almost 20 years in this House, I've probably spent the best part of a week traipsing round the division lobbies, exercising my democratic obligations as a member of this House. It is a week which I'm certain I'm not going to be able to get back. Can I say to my honourable friend that in July of last year, the Procedure Committee began an inquiry into the merits of electronic voting that was interrupted by the general election in December. So far, no decision has been made to reopen that inquiry, but can I encourage my honourable friend to beat a path towards the Procedure Committee, to encourage him to take up this inquiry once again, and knowing that my honourable friend's determination, I'm pretty certain he will do so.
We are reminded just to say we do respond on what the Commission's views are as well. Kenny McCaskill, not Perth.
Last week, the House Leader declined the idea of increased use of deferred divisions. Given that we are in a changing landscape, that guidance has changed and that even within this chamber we are now self-distancing, can I ask the House Commission whether they will reconsider that position?
The Commission is acting with the most up-to-date medical advice as given from Public Health England, and if at any point it was felt we couldn't continue with divisions in their current form, all feasible alternative arrangements will be looked at and put in place. I think my honourable friend will have noticed just how responsibly this House has responded to the requests for social distancing, and he goes look round the House and observe how we've positioned ourselves. I'll leave members to form their own view about the wisdom of packing division lobbies, cramped division lobbies, if there were any further divisions in this House. But I note that there has been none this week, and I know that it's intention of whips throughout this House to ensure that we'll be using the division lobbies as infrequently as possible.
Number 3.
The control of access to the House of Commons is vested in you, Mr Speaker, and not to the Commission. Mr Speaker announced additional access restrictions on Monday 16th March following the statement made by the Prime Minister to prevent the risk of exposure to coronavirus. This is including reducing access to pass holders only and those attending for business reasons such as witnesses to committees, which was implemented with immediate effect. Updates on Tuesday and yesterday outlined further measures to prevent the risk of exposure to COVID-19, including stopping all non-essential access to the estate, and from today, closure of several search and screen points around the estate.
Mr Speaker, I put this question down when there was talk about Parliament being closed and that we may not be invited back after the current recess. And so that when those rumours were around is when I tabled this question. So it's slightly, things have moved rapidly on beyond that. So can I just say that we have to appreciate that members of staff in the, who support us in keeping this place open and doing its vital job of holding the government to account during this vital time. So can I just take this opportunity to invite the Minister to pay tribute to those members of staff who support us?
Isn't it, in fact, me that will be invited to congratulate the staff round the estate? And can I say to the honourable gentleman that every effort possible is taken place to ensure that staff are kept safe and their exposure to risk is as minimal as possible. He is right to notice and identify that every effort will be made to keep this place open so that we could fulfil our democratic obligations. But that will always be done with the safety of all who use this estate in mind and will be constantly under review. And I thank the honourable gentleman for his remarks too.
Number 4, Mr.
Enabling remote working for honourable members and staff is a key priority in the Parliamentary Digital Service response to COVID-19. One aspect of this focus is the provision of emergency laptops to members, staff normally equipped with desktop computers. Currently, there is a reasonable laptop stock available, but it should be noted that market supply has been severely disrupted. As of close of Wednesday 18th March, 56 laptops have been provided to 41 honourable members' offices. Other IT equipment has been made available as requested, such as headsets for Skype for business use. The Microsoft Office 365 suite of tools is available remotely via personal devices and parliamentary computers. Part of the MS Office 365 suite is Microsoft Skype for business, and this offers one-to-one video conferencing facility. There is no more extensive video conferencing service yet deployed.
John Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm sure we all agree that digital services provide an amazing support for members of Parliament in our wide-ranging and very demanding requirements that we have. But our jobs are changing. I am not going to be able to have face-to-face contact with any constituent for the foreseeable future, and my staff will all be working from home. So we need to be able to have support for a broad range of new applications. And the Commissioner talks about laptops and hardware. I want to know that the digital services will have the resources to support a wide range of new applications, such as video conferencing.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady, and can I say I thoroughly agree with her, and I think all members around the House will now know the value of being able to keep in contact with their constituents through video conferencing and other remote methods. All I can say to the Honourable Lady is that the Digital Services Support Desk will continue to offer a 24-hour-day service. Undoubtedly, and I think without any sort of sense that a real effort will be made, there will be delays due to the volume of calls from people working remotely, but the team will deal with all calls as soon as they possibly can. Again, as I said in my original answer, the Digital Support Service team want to ensure that as much facility and resources given to honourable members, and I'm sure they'll be working in order to try and secure and achieve that.
Wendy Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At Westminster, I meet with a variety of organisations, and I'd now like to do this remotely, but the Skype system that you've referred to only supports connections to those with parliamentary accounts. This helps me link in with my team, but will digital services consider making Skype accessible to those out with the parliamentary network? My other comment is around, I've got new members of my team joining as a new MP, and so my question is what are the digital learning and development doing in terms of offering critical new training for new starts around DWP, etc., and is there going to be opportunities for those trainings to be available remotely as opposed to face-to-face as they've been up to now? Thank you.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady, and every effort will be made to ensure that people are connected and that all facilities will be used in order to keep members of Parliament in contact with their constituents. I know that Digital Service Support Desk will look at the very issues that the Honourable Lady mentions, and hopefully progress will be made in all that. I think the lesson here, and what seems to be required from all honourable ladies and gentlemen, right honourable ladies and gentlemen, is to ensure that we can work remotely, all our staff are as connected as possible, and that we continue to provide a level of service that we feel is commensurate with our roles as Member of Parliament, and I'm pretty certain that all Members of Parliament will be providing that in the weeks to come.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I welcome his energy to move us from the 19th century, particularly during these difficult times. The move to digital is important, but the telecoms companies are concerned that the sudden deluge by the entire nation of moving to a digital platform will actually overpower those very platforms themselves. Has he considered any contingency plans just in case we do need to return in full back to the 19th century?
All I can say to the honourable gentleman is let's not go back to the 19th century and hope that our 21st century resources and infrastructure are able to cope with the increased demand that members of Parliament as well as other people across our community will make use of it. It is beyond my remit as a member of the House of Commons Commission to be able to comment on the failings of some of the infrastructure and its ability to withstand some of the demands that will be placed upon it. All I can say to the honourable gentleman is that we here in the House of Commons, and I know that the staff within digital services will make everything possible to ensure that we are continue to be connected with our constituents. And I would suggest to all honourable members, if they have any concerns about being able to work remotely or concerns about the ability of the network to withstand us, please get in touch with the 24-hour services available from digital services. I'm sure everybody knows the number 2001.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The challenges of the last few days and weeks have really thrown up why we need to modernise this place, why we need to get on with restoration and renewal. I understand the Commission is meeting on Monday to discuss next steps. Isn't it time we gave the sponsor body the powers to get on with dealing with the Northern Estate, make sure that it's in the hands of proper professionals who can get on with this work and make sure that we are resilient for this sort of situation in the future and for very many years to come?
I commend the honourable lady's creativity in being able to shoehorn restoration and renewal into a question about digital facilities. But she is absolutely right. The Commission will be on Monday to consider further measures when it comes to restoration and renewal. Obviously, as an honourable member who is very closely connected and interested in this work, this will be communicated when we have concluded our meeting on Monday. But it's something that, even in the current condition and the current crisis that's currently facing this, something the Commission takes very seriously, and we will continue to inform the House of ongoing statements and work in relation to restoration and renewal.